So one of the things that you're going to have to deal with when you're printing on fiber paper is the inevitable fiber curl. When the paper base is wet, the paper is relaxed and it chills out in the tray. But as the emulsion starts to dry, it starts to curl in and tighten up, which ends up pulling up the ends of the paper. Now, depending on where you live, the humidity in your area, all kinds of other things, it could really affect how much curl you have. So, I mean, I don't really have too bad of a curling issue. Now, how do you fix that? Now, you can fix that with an iron. I've seen people use irons with like mat board, where you can put it in between two pieces of mat board or tea towels, and you can iron the mat board and then put it under a stack of heavy books. I've never tried that method, but I would assume it works, if not being time consuming, but I could see it working just fine. But I have a small press. Now, this is not a dry mount press as you would typically see in a photo darkroom. They're expensive. They're really expensive. I don't understand why they're so expensive, but whatever. Some of them have two platings of heat source, top and bottom. Some are just top, some are bottom. This one happens to be heat source on the top, flat steel base on the bottom. Now, this is, it's a little treat, a little trick. This is like one of those machines that you print those like plasticky graphics on t-shirts and mugs and hats and that kind of stuff you see at a mall kiosk. This is exactly that. I bought this on eBay for $99 shipped, and this works because I print 8x10. If you have plans on printing larger sizes, which most people do, you might have to look into something else. But one of the benefits that I found with printing small is that you save money in a lot of places. I save money on paper, I save money on presses or a press, etc. So I was able to get away with cheating with a smaller one. So let me show you how this works. This should work, these settings should work for most fiber-based applications. I've got the heat set to around, this is at 194, it's hovering around 189 to 195. And then I've got two pieces of mat board inside of here that I keep, when I'm flattening prints, I'll preheat these just so that the heat doesn't have to permeate the mat board and then the print. So these are warm. The important thing you want to make sure is that the side that you're using, that's the top side of your print, is clean and free of dirt and hair and debris, because you're actually going to be softening the emulsion layer again on the print, and that stuff will then in turn become baked in. So now we're hovering around 190. I'll put the print in between these two pieces of mat board, making sure that my corners are lying down. This is probably about the trickiest part of it, but really only because I'm doing it on camera. And then I've got a timer set on the heat press of 45 seconds. So I'll lower this down. Hit go. So that's 45 seconds. You don't want to cook the thing, you know, you just want to warm it back up to make it a little bit more malleable. And then I've got another piece of mat board right here with some photography books, because they're the best kind of books. And that will ensure that as the print cools, if you don't put it under something, it'll still retain most of its flatness, but if you put it under something heavy, and let it cool that way, it will retain that flatness much more better. So, 8 seconds left. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and the beep. Okay. Move this guy out of the way. So you'll see when it's coming out, it starts to curl up a little bit just because it's coming out of the heat. Now I'll immediately, oops, I got another one down here. I'll immediately put this underneath and let it cool. And as that's going, or cooling rather, I'll do another one here. See if I can do this with any more finesse. I just like to check the corners because that would be the worst thing, is pulling this thing out only to have the corners pinched up or bent over and permanently flattened that way. Permanently etching your mishaps into the print. Get that going for another 45. Yeah, so I'm finding it's a little harder for me to do the full-fledged videos at this point, just as a time constraint. So I hope that these little snippets of how I do things will be of value to you, at least for entertainment purpose or to help you along in your own journey. Remember, anything that you see me doing, I've literally just figured out weeks prior, if even that. So I'm really learning along with you, or at least making all of the big mistakes, so hopefully you don't have to. 1 second. So we'll pop this guy out. What a beaut. We'll slide this one out. Under ideal circumstances, these cooling prints would be left to sit for longer, but I've found that the time in between prints cooling and heating is generally gives me about the same effect that I get when leaving them longer. So you'll see that we went from a pretty curly print to very flat, very usable fiber-based prints. Now, I don't know that we're ever going to really achieve maximum flatness. Maybe if you guys have a suggestion otherwise to achieve maximum flatness in the print, but I hinge mount when I mount the prints. So we're using 2 pieces of acid-free archival linen tape and hinge mounting, and then laying the window mat across. So all you really need is the print to be flat enough to be workable. You don't want it to be pushing the mat up or to have ripples, visible ripples underneath the window, the mat window. So this is well within acceptable flatness for mounting. And that, my friends, is how I flatten my fiber-based prints with a $99 eBay t-shirt press. So I hope that was helpful, and see you in the next one.